So late April, we find ourselves with a little bit of a snowstorm, just to remind us that Mother Nature is, of course, always in control. So despite all the spring birds and the buds showing up on all the branches, we had just one more glimpse of what last winter had for us. Now, much like life, it's not so much what happens to us, but how we react to it that determines the outcome. Because the jobs still have to get completed, chores still have to get done, and whatever those chores look like to you, or whatever your objectives are in the end, is completely up to you. So in this episode, I'm going to give you a little bit more of an update as far as what we're doing here on the farm. I want to share with you a story of faith that I feel was very important to the process of this farm itself. So briefly, the updates are the children and I are looking for a different house while we continue to renovate the farm itself here. And I want to share that with you in this video. I also want to share with you is my gratitude for those who have reached out to me that wanted to hear my voice, where otherwise I would be very reluctant, but that gave me the courage in order to step up, step forward, and continue to make these things happen. So it's that effect of others, that positive aspect that others push onto us, that make all the difference. So I wanted to combine that with my stories, because even as soon as the snow was here, it had left. 2 days later, as if the snow itself had never existed. So projects are going to continue, such as a new fence line going in for the pastures, because these animals, of course, need to get outside as soon as possible. That'll be more in a future video. Once everything is marked out and we can start moving in, it'll make a lot more sense. And I'd even think the dog at this point is pretty much well and over the winter time. We do have an issue with some critters getting into all of our feed. Unfortunately, that is in a process that we've been dealing with for pretty much the whole winter. So the children and I are looking for a new home while the farm itself is being renovated. So we were driving around in town, a very small town close to the farm. So I took a turn down a road that I had never been down before. And in doing so, I saw a home that had a small sign on the front door, for sale by owner, with a number at the bottom. So my daughter read it out to me as I wrote it down, and we continued on for the rest of our day. Now, a couple days later, I've been thinking about this little home and trying to do as much research as I could. I could not find it posted anywhere. It wasn't online, it wasn't through any dealer, it wasn't through any realtor, rather. So I called the number and I left a voicemail. And in between my shifts at the neighbor's farm, I like to go down by the water and kind of solve all the problems of the universe, right? Phone call comes in, and I answer, and it's an old man on the other end. And he asked if I was the one interested in the home, in which, of course, I replied yes, and very interested in the home. I asked him just basic information, what could he provide? And he started with listing all the things that were wrong with the home, and his frustration over the past several months because he's hired contractors they would come in and only do half the job and not complete the job, take most of the money and not come back. So as the projects that he's listing off, I'm reassuring him that if he needed help during these, I'd be more than happy to go in and assist him do these things and help him out. I have no problem doing any of these tasks that he's asking, or at least have the resources to do so. Now, he doesn't live in the state. He has caretakers for the property. And we began talking, and he started telling me stories of this home. He said up until a year ago, he wouldn't take $1 million for this home because of how much it meant to him. This is the home that he grew up in a community that he absolutely loves. So the price that he would give people was far higher than what a standard market would probably ask for. But that he put that as a deterrent. He didn't want just anybody coming over and in. If they were serious about it, they would see it for its value, to continue to have its story told. Of which I reassured him that I'm trying to establish roots here. I'm trying to set myself up so that my children and I have our place that we can set in. You know, the old man also shared with me a story of why he loved the community that it is. Many years ago, when he was living there, a really bad storm, terrible storm, hit the property and caused a lot of damage to the roof as well as the outbuildings. And in that time, nobody ever had to ask for help. People just showed up. And he recounts his neighbors, especially one that came over. He had his little cloth tool belt full of nails and a hammer. And he just began right away getting to work on the roof, re-shingling, fixing the gutters, getting the limbs off the outbuildings, and just helping to fix. And he shared with me his name, and we just happened to have the same last name. So I'm continuing to listen to this gentleman's story, and I'm stuck on every word, because I can feel how much he cares for this little home. It's far more than just a little home. So he catches himself and he's like, oh, I'm just rambling. I'm just an old man telling old stories, and I apologize. I'm sure you don't want to hear about any of this. And in fact, I told him, no, I want to hear more about these things. And I would love to have the opportunity to work on your home. In the meantime, just let me know what else I can do to help. And as we begin to talk some more about what projects have to happen, and I mentioned to him that isn't it funny that you have a descendant, you have a relative of your neighbor working on this home once again. And the other end got really quiet. And I thought I lost the call at first, but I could hear him breathing, so I knew he was still there. And before I could ask, is everything okay, he comes through and he says, young man, you have no idea what an answered prayer this conversation is. Two of which, of course, felt like I got punched in the throat, and my eyes started watering, probably from my allergies, but that's a different situation altogether. Anyway, so he goes, I've been waiting for this for a very long time, because I don't want to sell this or give this over to anybody else until he knew that it was going to be taken care of. And I reassured him that absolutely, sir, like this home is going to be not only restored to what it should look like, but brought back into the community at which it belongs, updated like all the other homes that are in the area. So we continued to talk for another 45 minutes, and we shared other stories about where we've been, where we've gone, how we got there, and he became very excited about that. So the moral of the story amongst all this is that we never really know how we're going to impact each other's lives. I went a direction that I had never been before, and I talked to a person that I didn't know, but we've impacted each other's lives during that conversation, offering each other something that we needed but didn't know that we wanted. And we didn't know that we were the solution to each other's problems. And I've since talked with this gentleman some more, and I'll share that in a future video. But the moral of the story is that I want you to take from this, know how much we have an influence on one another. Realize that we do have an impact on our fellow man. What differences are we making today to each other? I want to take you along this journey as well, because this is far more than just working up dirt with old equipment. This is taking the tools that were left in the wood line, trying to put them back into action. And not only that, but this is the first time that I'm able to work ground on my own grandfather's farm, and just how emotional that is for me is very hard to describe. So, it's not only just putting seeds in the ground. I want you to also look within yourself and realize that maybe there's some tools that are in there. There might be some tools in your life that are perhaps sitting on the wood line. They're covered in debris. Maybe they're covered with things of the past. Tools that are going to be able to make your life impact others. What types of things are buried in your wood line that you could draw out, restore them, polish them off, get the dust off, kick off the rust? What is it that you can cultivate for somebody else's existence? So much like as I'm working these fields, how emotionally connected I am to this little plot of land. It is a very small, tiny little plot of land that I'm working, but the significance of it is massive. So take that into consideration. What tools are left on your wood line that perhaps you need to break out, that just might be able to assist you to cultivate the things that you truly want in your life? Those tools have always been there, but perhaps they're buried. Many times they're buried under doubt, not just vines and weeds and fallen trees. Perhaps those same tools and implements that are out there are just waiting for you to find them. They've always been there, and they may very well be a lot closer than you think. So cultivate the ideas that you want. It's far more than just putting seeds in the ground. So take the time today to be somebody's blessing. Or you never really know, perhaps you are somebody's answered prayers.